Welcome to Soul Chats session number 4. We are going live tonight. We missed last week, unfortunately, due to some Wi-Fi issues here in Bali. But tonight we're live. We're catching up. We're talking about the reconnection with yourself. So tonight I will bring in Katerina, as I've been doing every week. And we will have a chat about our experiences in terms of our shifts and our changes and our transformation in our lives, and what have been the really important pivotal parts in the reconnecting with ourselves, which essentially is everything to do with transformation. So tonight's a big topic. It can go every which way. I'm just going to bring Katerina on now if it lets me. And welcome, Lynn. How are you? Good to have you with us. Now, Katerina's just joining us.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
Oh my God, look at you. And I got literally 3 or 4 layers on.
It's funny. This won't happen for too much longer. Don't you worry.
Wait. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. I feel like I haven't seen you in ages.
I
I
know.
miss you,
It's
man.
funny. Miss our little soul chats, our face-to-face chats. It's so different.
See what I can get, mate. I'll see what I can get.
Yeah. So tonight's going to be a big topic. Hey, like, I couldn't even
Yeah,
define this if I
absolutely.
tried, really. So I didn't try. I'm
Yeah, and
just
I
going to
think
see
it's
what
like,
comes out.
yeah, well, I think it's real. Like I was thinking earlier that this actually has nothing really to do with healing specifically, in the
Okay.
sense that whether you need healing from something or not,
Yeah.
the connection to the self is so important.
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's just kind of like you're going to love this analogy because the analogy's coming. It's kind of like buying. It's like buying an iPhone, right? After being an Android user or vice versa, and not getting to know how to use the phone, which means there's all these things that it can do that you don't know it can do because you've never taken the time to learn how to use it. And I wouldn't call us a machine. I think that underrates us. We are this phenomenal organism capable of so many things that we don't know because we don't take the time to get to know. And the thing is, we don't come with a user manual. You can't, there's no user manual. You can't, it only comes with experimentation. It only comes with reflection and consciousness. So I think it's not just that this actually isn't necessarily about healing, although it is obviously, but this is literally for anybody. If you're a human being, this is beneficial to you to make the effort to connect to yourself.
Definitely. And isn't the reconnection with self the healing? Really, it's actually, to me, it's the same thing. Because any type of reconnection with yourself, that is the healing process. That is, to me, it's the same thing almost, really.
Yeah, valid point. Well, I guess it's I I guess it's almost like a starting point, so to speak, or an entry point.
Mm.
Like without the connection to the self, you can't heal.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. So
Because
they kind of go hand
I
in
guess
hand.
that's kind of, yeah, valid point. Look at you, Buddha.
So do you have specific stories you'd like to share with us this evening?
I'm not sure necessarily about specific stories. I have 50 million notes, though. I
That'll
have a
do.
lot of notes because I just feel like there's so many different ways you can look at this conversation. And like I said, it's not just, I guess, like you said, it is kind of about the healing, but it's, to me, this is just such an important part of being human to be able to connect to yourself. And I think that there's um, a lot of people think that they know who they are, but I personally believe that we have different faces, so to speak, or different masks, or I don't like using masks because I don't think they're necessarily masks. I think it's kind of like when you get a coin and there's heads or tails, but it's still a coin. It's like two sides of the same thing. So whenever we are different beings, whether it's from our ego, whether it's from our higher self, whether it's from pain and suffering or whatever, it's all still from the same being. It's just showing you a different part of yourself. So at any given moment, you can't be anything but you. You're just being a certain part of you.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
For sure.
But this is kind of about, I think with the self-connection, it's about becoming consciously aware enough to identify each of those beings and seeing how they play a part in your life. You know, when I come from an ego space, how does that make me feel? How does that make the people around me feel? What sort of results do I get? You know, that sort of thing. When I come from a higher self space, how do I feel? What are my thoughts like? What's my health like? What's my environment like? You know what I mean? So it's kind of like identifying all these things, but more so for the purposes of like, to me, it always just comes back to empowerment. Like, if you're disconnected from the self, you I don't even know. I can't even put it into words. Like, you just don't. You kind of just drift through life, so to speak.
Well, you're disconnected. Yeah. So
I see that.
Yeah, I understand that completely.
Yeah. So yeah, it's about that. It's about realizing the difference between your conscious and your subconscious, for example. You know, like I think I saw yesterday in a workshop that I was at that 95% of our thoughts, I think it was, or our actions are from a subconscious mind, which means 95% of the day you're in autopilot, and which is your subconscious mind. And what shapes your subconscious mind? It's your beliefs. How do you get beliefs? They're just the thoughts repeated over time.
That you've given meaning to.
If you've repeated thoughts over time and they've become your belief and then they've become your autopilot, all you need to do is change the thoughts that you're thinking, right? And it really is that simple. And this isn't about some kind of pop psychology, positive thinking garbage. This is just making the best experience that you possibly can out of the little bit of time you have here in this body, in this way. You know what I mean?
Definitely. And that is the connection to self. That's a definitely big part of that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, and I made a note as in, like, why is this so important? Not just because of what I said before about, you know, when you get a phone and you want to know how to use it. But I think also it's important to figure out your purpose, which I think is kind of the pop spirituality kind of aspect. Everyone's like, oh, figure out who you are so you can live your purpose. But I think it's kind of all these other things as well. Like I said, it's also about realizing how your thoughts impact your emotions, and then your emotions impact your thoughts. And there's this kind of cyclic thing that goes on that if you're consciously aware of, you can break that cycle if they're detrimental for you, if they're causing you damage, right? But then there's also about, once you connect to yourself and actually really observe you and how you work, you start becoming mindful of all the fucking superpowers that you have. And by that, I mean, like, our body's capacity to heal itself. Like, when you think about it, when you cut yourself, right, you might put a bit of dressing on it or even a Band-Aid. You may even need stitches. But what happens? Your body heals itself. Like listen to that. Like, think about that. Your body heals itself. What the fuck? That is amazing. Like, that is so powerful. We live in this phenomenal fucking thing, right? So once you sort of start to connect to yourself and you start to slow down, you realize how your thoughts impact your emotions, impact this. And then you realize how that impacts your health. Then you realize, okay, because my thoughts impact my emotions and that's impacting my health, if I change my thoughts, I change my emotions, I change my health. You know, all these things like that. There's all these after effects that come from connecting to yourself. And I think I also realized before, I think it's also about not just connecting to self as in who I am right now. I think it's also about connecting to who I have been in the past. For example, when people go through traumatic events, they can detach from them. They can disconnect from them. It's so traumatic that it's just like, it doesn't even feel like me. And for a long time, I said that about that I went through because my mum left, and the same year she left, my nonna, who's my dad's mum in Italy, got diagnosed with cancer and died. My dad had knee surgery. Both my brother and my sister-in-law separated. Like, it was a really traumatic year. A lot of things happened. And then I had year 12 exams. Wait, no, that can't be right. No, I had year 10 exams, sorry, but then it sort of stretched out, and then I had year 12 exams or something. It went on for quite a while, everything with my parents and stuff and my dad's health. And it became, my dad and I had always had a really good relationship, but once that happened and my mum left, the dynamics completely changed. I basically became the parent and he became the child. Not because he's incapable, but, you know, he doesn't read and write English. He's from Italy, right? Like, you talk to him, it sounds like he's fresh off the boat, right? So he can't manage a lot of stuff. When something comes in the mail, he can't read it. He doesn't know what it's about.
Wow.
He can't drive because he has epilepsy, license, right? At that point, he couldn't work because he had surgery. So he couldn't cook, he couldn't clean. Like, we literally did this complete shift, right? And it completely fucked with me. It really did. Up until everything that had happened with my ex last year, that was by far the most traumatic time of my life. It completely changed me. And for quite a while, I completely disconnected from it. I remember even saying several times that I don't even know who that person was in terms of who I was at that time. So that's a complete disconnection. So I think it's also about not just connecting to myself as in, or everybody, who we are right now. It's also about connecting to our past and going back to that and somehow getting our power back, because the reason we've disconnected from it is because we've disempowered. So, which basically we feel disempowered because of the story that we've told ourselves about it, right? So then I went back to it and I'm kind of like, okay, where did I give my power away? How can I get it back? But most importantly, what can I forgive myself for? Because once you do that, then that's when the connection comes back, right? So it's not just about self now. It's like, who is the self that I've always been? I may not physically be that person right now, but at one point in time, that's who I identified as self, if that makes sense.
Definitely. Yeah.
Which once you do that empowering and that healing, you can't let it go, but you're not disconnected from it in the same way. It's almost like a more healthier disconnection as opposed to I'm ignoring you disconnection.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so these are just some things that I was thinking about when I was writing everything about why it's important and stuff, and like sort of different aspects of it, I guess. But basically with the how, I think it's very, very subjective. Like what works for me may not work for you, may not work for somebody else. But I think there's a few things that are definitely helpful, and they sort of stem from our past topics of discussion. Excuse me. So one is to release and let go of anything toxic. So that includes people, environments, foods, routines, all those sorts of things. And the reason for that is because to connect to yourself is a conscious act. It's not in a good place, you can't do it. You can't do it to the level that you could do it. So that includes, for example, if you're out getting drunk all the time. So your state of being is either you're drunk or you're hungover. Neither of them are a clear state of consciousness to be able to connect to yourself. If you drink coffee all the time, you know, you're constantly aroused. Your mind cannot calm down enough to connect to your intuition. You know, like there's all these different things that we do. Even sex for some people, that's an escape route. You know, like there's all these different things. Work, we can get caught up in work to avoid ourselves. So if you don't get rid of toxicity, you kind of are starting off on a really bad foot. You know, like I think it's kind of like important to do the groundwork first before you kind of get to the juicy stuff. That makes sense. Toxicity, I think, was one. Two was reflection. So kind of like I said, seeing times when you've disconnected. And that includes looking back at times or moments in your life where you've given your power away. And the reason for that is because I think to be able to connect to yourself, you need to look at yourself and accept yourself without judgment for everything that you've ever done. Everything. Whether it was good, bad, ugly, sexy, doesn't matter. You need to be able to do that, right? And I don't know, I'm just trying to, I've made so many freaking notes because this is just such a big topic. And I think that when you realize all the places you give your power away, it's a direct reflection of what's really going on for you. So, for example, if you give your power away to your partner, every time they say you need to do something, you feel you need to do that. Why do you feel you need to do that? Is that because deep down you want to be accepted by them? Is that because you feel like it's your responsibility to make them happy? Is it because you fear rejection? All of those things are not the sign of a healthy relationship. That doesn't mean you don't love them. Doesn't mean there aren't parts of your relationship that are healthy. But those specific things are the things you need to work on, right? So I think realizing where you give your power away is another one. But then once you've done those sorts of things, it's kind of like, okay, now what? And for me personally, the most significant thing I've ever done for myself has been over the last 6 months, and it's spending a fuckload of time with myself. And I don't mean spending time with myself being distracted, constantly working, constantly watching movies, constantly doing. I mean allowing myself to just fucking sit with my thoughts, with whatever, and just let myself be. Get to know who I am. That's what self-connection is to look at yourself, allow yourself to be without judgment. That includes thoughts, feelings, whatever you're doing. It's the entire thing. It's your routine. It's the way you speak to people. It's how you feel when you get up in the morning. It's how you feel before you go to bed. It's literally every single second of every day. It's looking at that, connecting to that without judgment, and allowing that to just be. And then by looking at it without judgment, it then allows you to see, okay, when I do this or think this or feel this, this is the result that I get. Is that the result that I want? Nope. All right, I can change it. It is the result that I want? Great. Don't need to do a thing. We're going to keep you just as you are. You know what I mean? So to me, that by far was the biggest and most important thing for me to reconnect to myself. Yeah, there's the things about, the emotional healing and stuff like that. But I think that ultimately, even that comes to a level of self-awareness and willingness to be myself without judgment. So releasing those emotions, to allow myself to think those thoughts, to allow myself to have enough if it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Saturday. It's to allow myself to sleep until midday if that's what I need. It's about genuinely allowing myself to be without judgment, even no matter how many fucking people tell me that I shouldn't be doing that. Like at one point I was meditating fuckloads. Like I'm not even joking. I would spend probably 70% of my day in meditation.
Wow.
Like my waking day, right? It was a lot. Like even for myself now, I'm like, fuck, that was a lot of meditation. But at the time, it was exactly what I needed. And even now, looking back at it, I know that it's exactly what I needed. So it's a completely subjective experience, and everybody's going to have an opinion on what's good and what's not good and blah, 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 blah. So I think that there's a bit of a period where you have to experiment with it and see what actually works for you.
Yeah.
But to me, it has to involve time by yourself, because that's the only way that you can see yourself for how you are. And that doesn't mean that other people, I also think that there's a part of us that we can't always see. And people who genuinely know you and you trust and genuinely care about you will help you to see things about you that you haven't before from a loving space, and they'll do it to cut you and shut you down. They're not the people you want to listen to. But even then, they still may have a valid point. So whenever anybody says anything, you say to yourself, okay, does this have any truth to it? Even if they've come at you with the worst of intentions, fuck their intentions, don't worry about it. Use it to your advantage, right? Does it have a truth to it? If it does, okay, do I want to work on it? Nope, fuck yeah, thanks for your information, I'm just going to go about my day. If you do, great, thank you so much, you were a cow for your delivery, but you gave me a lesson, thank you. Either way, it's a thank you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Perfect.
So, yeah, I think that by far, that's the most amazing thing anyone could ever do. I'm super lucky that I have circumstances that allowed me to do that. Like I've basically hardly worked the last 6 months and lived almost solely off my saving investment money. I don't have children. I don't have a mortgage. I don't have a lot of things that a lot of people have. So I'm super fucking blessed. But at the same time, no matter what is going on for you, if you choose to make it a priority, you will find time in your day, even if it's 15 minutes, you will find time in your day to make that happen. And you will not fucking regret it. You will not regret it. Yeah.
Definitely. You've got a question from Lynn. Can you read that?
That's what I got.
I like it. Can you read
Oh,
the comments?
hi. How did you stop yourself falling into a depression hole? Oh, that's a great question.
Mm.
Um, Wait, hold on. Just to confirm, Lynn, are you talking about how did I stop myself from going into a depression hole when I was learning my truth, or when everything was happening last year? Which one are you referring to?
Well, either what was,
About both.
see what she says, but go with, well, the hardest situation. So the most traumatic, I guess, at that point, how do you stop yourself? How do you get back? How do you crawl back? What's a turning point?
Well, I think the close time I would have got into, actually, you know what? I think I actually was depressed, to be honest with you. Before I broke up with my ex, and then a few months afterwards, while I was letting all of that go. So even then, I don't think it's about avoiding depression. It's about allowing yourself to express those emotions. And
Mm.
I think that's why people get into depression. Because when you think about depression, to me, depression is a illness of the past. Anxiety is an illness of the future. You get anxious about things that are going to happen that you have no fucking control over, and you're just creating in your head. And depression are things that you're looking back of that you wish were different, right? So it's about yeah, which I guess doesn't really matter what stage you're in. It's about how to avoid depression at all. I think the whole purpose of it is to not avoid it. It's to allow yourself to feel those things,
Mm.
but not get consumed by them. That's the trick, is that, okay, you can sit there and think, fuck, I wish this happened, or why did this happen, or why me, right? But that's not empowering. It's actually not helping you. So it's not about, oh, she said not getting depressed when sitting with yourself and not distracting yourself. Well, I think the key there involves doing it without judgment. Do it with curiosity. Do it with playfulness. Do it with wonder. Like, oh, I wonder what I'm going to learn about myself today. It's
Find
the
joy.
judgment that makes you depressed.
Mm.
Yeah,
Find
it's the
some joy.
judgment that makes you
Yeah.
depressed. Yeah. Whereas for me, I love learning about myself. I've always been into human behavior. I've always been ridiculously self-aware. Like I studied psychology at uni. I was the kid in year 12 for my exams that was sitting in class all of lunchtime doing all these fucking past exams. Like I'm that person when it comes to psychology and human behavior, right? So for me, it was just a given. It was something that I was naturally interested in. And if it's not something you're naturally interested in, then I encourage you to get interested in it, because, like I said before, if you don't know how you work, how can you learn not to get depressed? How can you learn what makes you depressed? How can you learn your insecurities, your beliefs that are holding you back? All of those things. So the key is to do it without judgment, and you sit there and say to yourself, literally, before you get into it, what am I about to learn? I'm going into this experience, allowing myself to be whoever I need to be. It doesn't mean I'm going to be like this forever. It doesn't mean that I was a bad person in the past. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means right now I'm going to make the conscious effort to sit with myself and allow myself to be. And then if I don't like it, I have the power of choice, which means my choice in that moment is, do I allow myself to get consumed by it, or do I get out of it? But at the same time, like, if you think you are prone to quite deep depression and significant depression or something like that, then just put out into the universe, Lynn, which we've said this several times, that you want healing, and someone in your space will arrive to help you through that. If you genuinely feel like it's not something that you feel confident in, like, for example, if you feel like you may get suicidal or something like that, or for anybody who's watching, if you feel like it could get to that point, then just wait until somebody comes along to help you through the hard part at the start. But to me, it's all about allowing yourself to be without judgment, with curiosity, with playfulness, with intrigue. It's having that, um, it's looking at that situation as an observer, not as a beer, not as a doer. Yeah. Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect answers, perfect responses, and a really good way to bring up this huge topic. So, yeah, Lynn said, thank you, very helpful. Perfect. That's good. And that also, I think, goes back to when we were saying support is such a huge part in any transition when you've got that. It could be that one person, and you might only have one person in your life, and it's not the person you expect or even want to be there for support, but you only ever need one person, or even one tool, one technique, one book, one whatever. Like whatever you feel is helpful to you right now, that is your healing, that is your support. There is always someone that comes into our space, and that is something that we are learning also to allow in, and to even lean on, and to, you know, let people actually reach out, because there's people that actually want to reach out and help. They do that because they enjoy it, they do it for their job, they do it for a lot of different reasons. And at some point we all need help, and at some point we all offer help. So it's just a cycle that goes around and round and round. But yeah, that support network, no matter what it is, who it is a really, I think, integral part of not allowing that consumption. Because when we can feel like shit, and our situation, when we can get really stuck in a situation and wonder how we got ourselves into that situation, we can easily get consumed in that. And the thoughts can just on top and compile. And the next minute you are depressed. Next minute you feel consumed. Next minute you can't leave the house. Next minute you can't interact with people. Next minute you don't even know how you got yourself to this position again. So it's those things like that, where it doesn't matter what it is. If there's any little small thing that makes you smile, makes you enjoy life, makes you enjoy yourself, use that, do it as much as you possibly can. You'll do it more and more. You'll find more things. They'll lead to the next. It's just like really baby steps, I find, is the easiest way to get out of anything, or not allow yourself to be consumed by your situation, surroundings, anything that you feel isn't working for you right now.
Yeah, and I think that too, again, comes back to how I've said previously about the difference between healing stuff from the past and then choosing from this moment forward what's going to happen. And I think from this moment forward, the only thing you need to focus on is maintaining a high vibration. That doesn't mean you can't have moments of sadness. That doesn't mean you can't have moments of tiredness. It doesn't mean you're constantly in a state of amazingness. But we can't physically be happy and sad at the same time. You can't physically be happy and anxious at the same time. So the more you choose thoughts that make you happy, the more you choose thoughts that make you feel good, the less chances you have of allowing yourself to not be happy, of being depressed, of those sorts of things. And by consciously making the effort to get familiar, with that physical state of being, will then allow you to explore the past healings from a new state of being. Because what your mind, your brain, whether you imagine something or it's happening to you right now, your brain does not know the difference. And if you don't believe that, all you have to do is close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and think of the happiest moment in your life. Literally relive that moment. Think about who you were with, where you were, what you were wearing, how did you feel. I guarantee you, if you allow yourself to really be consumed by that thought, you'll all of a sudden have more energy. A smile will come on your face. You'll start feeling good, right? Then you'll open your eyes, and then you'll realize none of that just happened. You created that in your head. And what happened? Your body just followed. And that's what happens. Our body doesn't know the difference. Our brain doesn't know the difference, right? So by consciously... I'm a bit hesitant to say this because I don't know, I think it can be taken the wrong way. But I think we have imagination. I think a big part of the reason why humans have imagination is to change our state of being. So right now, if you're in an environment that you're not happy with, just close your fucking eyes and think of something that is better for you. And instantly watch your body change. Instantly watch your emotions change. And then when you reopen your eyes, all of a sudden you're in the same environment, but you're perceiving it differently. So the more you're scared of being depressed by thinking about the past, for example, the more you should use your imagination to your advantage to recreate moments that empower you, so that when you do remember the past, you're coming from it, you're looking at it from a different feeling, if that makes sense. So in the same way, I don't know if you know, but there's there's psychological studies done to show psychiatrists using MDMA, which is ecstasy, to treat post-traumatic stress disorder. And the reason it's so profound is, I'm not sure if anybody here has ever taken ecstasy before. I'll be honest, I've tried it. And the thing about ecstasy, and no, I'm not encouraging you to go out and fucking try drugs and get it from some street deal. That's not what I'm saying. Don't make that.
We
Nobody
add a
watch this video
disclaimer
and make
to
that
this
about
video.
me. All right? That's not what's happening. But what I am, well, you know, there has to be a clinical version. Otherwise, how would they be able to use it in experiments, right? But that's not what this is about. My point is, when you take ecstasy, physiologically, which means biologically, chemically, whatever the fuck you want to call it, your body cannot be anything but happy. It cannot be anything but full of joy. This is pure ecstasy. This is, like I said, not the street shit and all that crap, right? Now, the reason that's so powerful in treating post-traumatic stress disorder is because they give them the MDMA, which means they physically cannot be unhappy, and then they make them recall those events. But because they physically are happy, they then are neurologically rewiring their brain with that event, with a new emotion. They're going back to that event by reimagining it, except this time their body's having a different response. They're rewiring, they're reconditioning. And we can do the exact same thing whenever we imagine something. So whenever you're about to do something or remember something that you think is going to make you depressed or anxious or whatever, just close your eyes and think of something that will empower you. Think of something that will make you feel good. Literally for the purpose to change your physiology. Literally. Because that's what's causing you the problem in the first place anyway, right? You're having a physiological discomfort. You're having an emotion, which is a chemical reaction. So all you need to do is change that, and then you're going to feel better. It's that simple.
And I'll add to that, there are probably better versions of the story that we could tell. Like in kinesiology, we learn an energy balance that would do the same thing, but we're using energy, so it's legal and it's healthy and it's easy.
Well, hold on. My point wasn't for people to take drugs.
I know.
I just wanted to use a really extreme and obvious example where just by changing your physiology, by changing your emotional state,
yep,
you can go back to things and change that. You know, it's literally just about reconditioning.
Yeah. So then
your mind.
Another way that we would probably advise more people to do is to actually talk your thoughts out loud. So when you are thinking and say, especially when having time on our own seems to be such like the biggest fear in the world, no one wants to be on their own. No one wants to spend too much time doing nothing on their own. Like it seems to be like the worst thing in the world that people just don't do it and are very aware that they're afraid to do it. When that is such a pivotal part in reconnecting with yourself, we all will get to that point when we're ready. But a really easy way to ever really understand what's going on inside and to not get consumed with any of the thoughts or the fears or any of these beliefs that might not even be real or true, or whether they are, it doesn't matter, is literally when you are testing out the time on your own and testing out just being in your own space in quiet time, is the thoughts that start running through your head, say them out loud. So it's like you're having a conversation with no one, with yourself, with anyone, and allow yourself to speak the words and watch what your body does. You won't even want to speak those words out because what goes on in those thoughts are fucking scary as. And when you start to actually allow yourself, because you're making them truthful, when you actually speak words out aloud and you're making those thoughts into reality, you'll find your body stops yourself. You won't even be able to speak the words that you're thinking. Already that changes the thoughts. It starts to rewire the brain. It actually starts to do a whole little balance effect in your whole mind and body. That's such the easiest, simple thing that you can do whilst testing out that time and space on your own, because you are literally almost flipping your story around. You're almost, if you have a lot of self-hate talk or anything that you say to yourself about your situation or anything that you're getting consumed in, which you're going to perceive as a negative because that's why it's of a depressive kind of nature. You start saying those words out loud, watch it release. Watch yourself turn and change, because you won't literally, because it's not deep down, it's not your truth. Soul will not allow you to keep speaking that, but you might have to do this for quite a while to get to that point, but watch how it turns around. Your story will change like that. It's fascinating. And journaling does the same thing.
But yes, I think it's very good that you said it may take a while, because at the start, though, I think some people are way too much in their head, and energetically they need to let it out.
Yeah, exactly.
So yes, and they may be letting it out verbally, but like you said, it will eventually get to a point where, okay, energetically you've let it out, but now I'm consciously aware of what's coming out of my mouth. Is this good? And yesterday I was at a workshop, and he made such a good thing. He said that he wonders sometimes if everybody was able to connect their thoughts to what are they called?
A lie detector?
What are they called that you talk into, like a megaphone?
Yeah.
If everybody could just automatically connect a megaphone into this, and everybody could hear what's going on in here, you would change your thoughts like that.
Exactly.
Right? So it's the same sort of thing, except at the start, I feel like there's so much going on and there's so much intensity inside, so you actually just need to let it out. Whether it's talking, yelling, whatever, throwing bricks fucking out of, I don't know. I don't know why I said throwing bricks, but, just energetically you need to let it out. But then once you've done that, it's like, okay, let's try this again and say this out loud. Oh, that was harsh. I think I'm stupid. Fuck. We ain't having that no more. And then that's when you'll start to very quickly see all those automatic talk coming in. That's the true indicator of where you're at. It's not the conscious mind thinking, it's the automatic mind. That's what will tell you where you're actually at. And they're the ones where once you've released the energy and then you realize, oh, I think I'm stupid. And then after it's like, yeah, I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm dumb, I'm this, I'm that. It's like, whoa, all right. Okay, now this is what's actually going on. I'm not going to judge it. It's okay. I just now know that these are the things that I need to work on.
And also watch what happens, because you physically can't talk and speak without your whole body needing to participate. So when you're speaking your thoughts, your mind is activated, right? So you've got that focus already. One, you just literally, it won't take that long, I swear to God, for anybody, no matter what their situation is. Your whole body will not allow you to speak those thoughts, because those thoughts are thoughts for a reason. And the minute you actually put them into words, you're changing everything so quickly. Like, any type of therapy is so supportive when you can actually be truthful. So when you're in that quiet space on your own, you're allowing yourself to actually say what you think, more so than in front of a mentor or a coach or anyone like that. But watch what your body does. You end up having an automatic response in terms of, it's like your head will start saying these thoughts, and the rest of your body will just be like, nah, this is not right. There's something wrong. I don't believe this. This is not my truth. But you'll say them, and you'll even catch yourself, and there'll be a head-heart conversation. And if you can do that out loud, you will be healing yourself quicker, I swear to God, than so many other tools and techniques out there, because you'll start having a head conversation where the mind starts asking you questions, and then your body or your heart will actually have answers, or it won't. It'll just recorrect those thoughts. It'll turn it back into what you actually truly believe. Watch that. I swear to God, everyone needs to try that out, whether you do it for a couple of minutes. It will blow your mind of how your whole mind and body can get into an alignment, can start actually talking the same language. And if your mind is now thoughts from your heart, like, imagine the conversations you're going to start having with yourself. You can't hate yourself when you're speaking out loud. Like, I swear to God, I've done this even in journaling. I started writing out all these things. I was just in such a rut, and I was in my breakdown moment, and everything was shit. And I was like, fuck this. So I'm writing all these things I hate about myself. And I didn't even get through half a page, and it just didn't feel right. And this is me writing. I'm not even talking. So this has this much effect of what talking will have. And I started going, well, fuck that. That's not very nice. No, I love my hair. I love my smile. I love this. And I heard 3 pages of shit I loved about myself. And I sat there under this tree in New Zealand going, what the fuck just happened? And I tell so many people to do it, and they are too scared to do it, and that's okay. One day you'll get to the point when you're not too scared, and it will blow your freaking mind. It changes your whole physiology, everything. Like you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's 2 things I want to add to that. It'll change your body physiological in very different ways. So, for example, you might start to get tense. Your heart rate might start increasing. You might significantly change your body language. There's all different ways that your body will respond, but you have to consciously be aware of that. It's, it's not that my left arm is suddenly going to pop out. It's that you have to be aware that, okay, my body is going to change. I'm not going to expect it to change in a certain way. I'm just going to be mindful to see how it changes. You might even get a headache. You might suddenly get really tired. You might suddenly get a sharp pain in your leg. There's all different ways. Or it could even be like all of a sudden I'm hungry because your body's trying to avoid you doing that. It's not necessarily a good or a bad experience, but physiologically, like you said, something will happen to where your body is telling you not to do this because it knows that it's not good for you. But again, there's actually another experiment that you can do is if you put your, I'm pretty sure you would have learned this in kinesiology actually, or something pretty similar, is that if you put your arm out straight, literally like this, right, and you get somebody to put their hand on top who's standing opposite you to push down, and you first do it by saying, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm amazing, you're saying all these really positive affirmations. And then as they're pushing down on you, you have to put all your effort to keep your arm up. You'll see maybe you'll drop a little bit, right? And then you stop for a second and then you do it again. Except this time you say, I'm lazy, I'm fat, I'm stupid, I'm no good, I'm worthless, whatever. You will not be able to hold your arm up as much. So that instantly shows how much your thoughts impact your body. And all it is, like, the only difference that I said there was bad things about me and good things about me. It's literally that simple. But a lot of people don't realize the impact that it has on the body. So even your strength gets impacted, your immune system gets impacted, your cardiovascular gets impacted, your brain, every system gets impacted. And I think
that's the basis
it
of
was with you that
kinesiology. That's a muscle test. That's actually the
right, so
whole.
there you go.
That's where we get all the information from. So if you believe that you're fat, your arm will stay strong. And it's not about pushing your arm any harder or anything like that. It's like the lightest pressure ever. That is kinesiologist indicators is what they call it. So yes, it's because like you just pinpointed that your body has a sense of truth about it, and there's the layers of stress. So we can find out what's stressing you out, and if they're words or their affirmations or their feelings or their food or their situations, it doesn't matter what it is. You can determine what is stressing your body out and what's not. Some people, alcohol stresses them out. Some people, it doesn't. Some people, phone stress them out. Some people, it doesn't. Like, that's why it is so specific to who you are and where you're at that point, that's how we bring out all that information to be able to clear and balance all of that out. So yeah, that's like kinesiology. That's all of what it is. You've just pinpointed that.
Okay. Well, I did that deliberately. I knew.
I did a little bit of research before.
I deliberately did that. So actually, I didn't know what it was, and I've been meaning to ask you what kinesiology is, but now I already know. So thank you for the confirmation.
You're welcome. Because like you said, the energy in your body is, there's information. Everything you've thought, everything you've believed, everything that's happened to you or for you is in your body. It's in your imprint. It's in your energy of your body. So we can read that. Energy healers, Reiki, kinesiologists, anyone can bring out that information in their own way. Our whole body, people can just look at each other. Like, we now are quite intuitive. We can look at each other, have a conversation with people. We don't even need to see them, but you can hear in their words. You can just feel in their energy. You can hear in the tone. It's a body language thing. It's all of that. We all can read people, whether we know we do it or not. It's because all of your information is in your body. It's in your face. It's in your energy. It's in your posture. It's in absolutely everything. So, of course, any stressful situation has an impact on your body, your organs, your health, absolutely everything. So it's ripping all that stuff apart to get to your truth, to understand what actually is healthy and supportive for you. And all it is your feelings will tell you that. Your feelings will guide you every single step of the way to be able to show you what direction or which path to be able to take. And that, to me, is the very, very small aspects of reconnecting with yourself, is asking yourself how you feel, having those conversations with yourself so you can stop the thoughts that are trying to tell you maybe something else, that your body is telling you how I feel. I am hungry, I feel like this. I am tired, I need to sleep. I want to go for a walk. There's usually very simple, very basic things that the body needs when it's reconnecting with itself, and we just don't understand that how it could be so simple. So we tend to try and overcomplicate it and not allow ourselves that quiet time or that rest or anything like that because of everything else that we've got ourselves into.
Yeah. But I also think that at the start, though, so to me, all those signs from our body are basically our body telling us that something's something's incongruent here.
Yep.
Something is not familiar. Something is not right.
Yep.
So at the start, for example, if you're used to being depressed and all of a sudden you're starting to work on that, your body is actually going to fight back a little bit in the sense that, oh, this is unfamiliar territory. My equilibrium is being in depression. That's what I'm used to. And now you're trying to do something that I'm not familiar with. No, this isn't going to work. I'm going to make you sick so we can get back to depression. That's what I'm used to doing. So I think at the start, though, it's very important that there's this whole holistic approach that you need to take, that it's about the mind, the body, and the soul getting into alignment. Because, for example, when I first started doing a lot of that, my diet was going, well, actually, it wasn't my diet. It was what I thought was my body telling me I needed food was going out of whack. Sometimes I'd eat one meal a day. Other times I'd eat so much because sometimes it was coming from that aligned self, and sometimes it was my body telling me, I'm not used to this. This is no good. I'm panicking now. This is not familiar territory for me.
But you still have to follow that, right? Like you can't go against that. You have to follow. If you want to eat one meal a day, you eat one meal a day. If you want to eat 20, there is something that is guiding you.
Yeah, but my point is it's you need to be aware of where that guidance is coming from. Is that guidance coming from a higher self that this is actually good for me? Or is this an automatic thing that my body is doing to get my attention, to tell me that something is out of alignment? So the same way that I said before, when you try and say something out loud, your body might distract you by telling you you're hungry. Same thing. You might try and sit there and face your emotions, but your body's not used to that, so it's going to tell you you're hungry. So I actually don't need that meal. So it's sometimes you do need to listen. You always need to listen to it, but then you need to make the decision, is this my body running away, or is this what I actually need?
Well, the difference is it your head telling you this, or is it your heart telling you this? So that's the two. You can separate.
But when you have too much going on in here, you can't hear this.
But when you're asking, but when you're in these moments, what we're talking about is being almost very quite intentional. They are purposely spending time on their own. They are purposely having these conversations. They are kind of in a zone that they're very conscious anyway. So yes, they can, I believe. So whether it's having that conversation and starting to feel, and yes, it will definitely get stronger and stronger, but is this coming from my head? You can ask yourself, is this urge or this whatever, is this coming from my head or is it coming from my heart or body or whatever you want to feel like you want to separate the two to get quite understanding in where that alignment is going, because there is a separation. That's why we have these issues, because there is no alignment with any of us at the moment. Our heads have taken over, really. So there is like the heart of just step back and be like, oh, well, you're not listening to me. So like I'm here, but you keep ignoring me, because the head is just going to like keep going with thoughts and telling you what to do. So you can ask, So your intuition or your feelings or your gut instincts or all those things are still going to be throwing you messages and guidance that never stops. The difference is hearing that, acknowledging that, where that's coming from in your body, you know, whatever you feel is right, and then understanding, okay, I feel like this is a thought, because you know the difference, you just will, or it's coming from my head, or there's whatever there is, you'll be able to differentiate where this comes from, and then from that moment onwards, you can ask the question, and that will allow you to, bit by bit, start to really determine where are these actions coming from, where are these urges coming from, why did I just do that, why did I just say that? If you're really dissecting everything, you can get into alignment very quickly by having those moments of asking yourself, and whether it's just a thought in your head, okay, is this coming from my head or is this coming from my heart? You can still be having that conversation with your body to differentiate what is going on or where it's coming from, if that helps.
Oh, 100%. Like now, the last 2 days actually, it's happened a few times because I've started to work on some other parts of myself that need a bit of tweaking. So I've noticed the last few days I've been eating more, and I've had to catch myself and be like, hold on a second. No. We're not eating right now, because I don't actually need food. I'm not actually hungry. My body is just trying to run away from what's actually going on.
Yeah, okay. Gotcha.
But the only reason why now I know the difference is because I have been able to calm this down enough and hear my intuition and feel It's your intuition is more of a feeling, really, than a noise.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's noise in your head, then it's probably a thought. If it feels good, and I don't mean emotionally, I
It's
mean
different.
you can't explain what your intuition feels like. It's just
What's a
it's just
feeling?
fucking like
Yeah.
yeah, but
they
yeah, but someone could say happiness is a feeling.
Yeah, but people know. Again, we don't know, but there's a word and a connotation against it to make us say the word and use the word. So everyone else will have their own interpretation of what feeling is, and it doesn't matter what their interpretation is. That's what their truth is. So everyone will have some type of meaning behind what feelings are and what it feels like for them. No one will have no idea. I think everyone will have some idea. They just won't trust it. That might be the difference.
Oh.
But whether you can describe it or not, it's a whole different thing, which is what we're just struggling with right now.
Yeah, but I'm even thinking about time. I'm just trying to think when I was completely disconnected from my intuition. If I
Keep thinking.
I don't know.
Lynn's just asked, what's the difference between a feeling and emotion?
Oh, that's yours, Tammy.
Yeah, so my meaning, I have felt emotions to me are almost reactions from thoughts. So I actually align emotions with thoughts. Whereas to me, feelings are that genuine feelings. Now, I believe they come from my heart or my intuition or gut instincts. I kind of roll them all into one. Again, what's allowed me to understand the difference is I've separated what my thoughts are, and I feel like they come from my head, and there's a feeling or an energy or there's something that's just made me understand the difference, and emotions are a reaction from those thoughts. So emotions are, we could go
Happiness, sadness.
Yeah, and that's why we struggle with saying what feelings were before. So emotions are all those things that we probably thought were feelings because, well, again, no one goes to school and gets educated on anything about our bodies or anything. So I guess emotions are anything, sadness, and it can be good or bad, but they're reactions from thoughts. It's not necessarily all a negative thing, but that's how I interpret it. Again, I don't even know how else to interpret it that way. I've just, again, in my whole very internal world, trying to dissect everything. Feelings to me comes from my body. It's just a feeling. I don't know how to describe it. I feel like we all will have our own interpretation, and that doesn't matter what it is. It's yours. But it's, to me, that's what the gut instincts and the intuition is. Even when I didn't know what it was, there was a feeling that sometimes feelings don't make sense because there's no thoughts or there's no logic behind it. That, to me, again, is difference. But emotions, I feel like it's because I've just thought, oh, I shouldn't have eaten that pasta. Now I feel fat and bloated, and there's thoughts and there's beliefs and all this other like rubbish that's corrupted in my head about it, that it's allowing me to now feel down and feel tired and feel all these different things, which I would say they're more reactions from thoughts because of all those beliefs. And you know that there's thoughts and words and kind of static running around in your head. None of that is happening with feelings. Feeling is just a feeling. Feeling doesn't have thoughts and logic and complications and questioning. A feeling is a feeling. Like, that's it. That's probably why it's so hard to describe. I don't know. You got anything better?
Well, I think you can have, no, I totally agree. And when you said that to me, you said that to me actually, because I think of the first video or second video, I used them interchangeably and I didn't even realize that I was. And then you made that clearer for me. But I think it's also that a feeling can be good or bad. A feeling is kind of like, oh, I shouldn't go down that alleyway. I don't know why, but I just shouldn't go down. That's the feeling.
Good.
Or feeling is, I feel like I should just do this for that person. I don't know why. There's no logic behind it. It's got nothing to do with anything in here. It's just in here. And this just came to my mind when you were talking. I think a feeling, you can tell is a feeling because it doesn't impact this.
Yep.
Whereas this, it's an emotion when this impacts everything.
Perfect.
Whereas you have a feeling is kind of like, I don't know. My head can't explain why.
Perfect.
So if your head can't explain it, it's probably a feeling. If your head can explain why you feel happy or sad or whatever, then that's probably an emotion.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Taking over the world.
Does that help, Lynn? It doesn't even matter, really. Like, we can give you our interpretations and our meanings all day long, and it might mean shit. It might not work for you. It might not resonate with you. We all, again, reconnection with self is literally about you working out what means what to you. you can understand why anything means the way it is. It's dissecting those thoughts. It's sitting with yourself quietly, which allows everything to really come up. It's going for nature walks. It's getting yourself very simple, very raw, very quiet, very still, so you can allow all that noise, because distraction doesn't allow anything to come up. The distractions and us keeping busy and doing things we don't want to be doing is only adding and suppressing more of the emotions that are in our body anyway. So we never get the chance to actually heal or actually connect or reconnect with ourselves when we're distracting ourselves by being busy or doing things we're not enjoying doing. So the whole process to reconnection with self is like everything we've said. Every video, it's completely specific and unique to you, and why we try and, I guess now, which is good to actually try and describe what feelings is. It's when there are no thoughts impacting. There's just a feeling, and they get stronger and stronger, and you start trusting them more and more, and you are almost just guided by feelings, and they take you in a different direction rather than the thoughts and the logic with the beliefs and the social need to comply with what everyone else is doing. Rather than that controlling your life and taking over, your feelings now get a chance to go, hey, what about this? Oh, shit, that felt good. Wow, this led to this. Then I met this person, and then this happened, and then that's why we all go on our spiritual conversations, because it feels like it's a little bit of a miracle of how your feelings just took you on that path.
Yeah, and I think the easiest way as well is if you find yourself saying the words "it feels right" or "it feels wrong,"
Yeah.
it's literally that simple.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yep.
If it feels right, it's a feeling. If it feels wrong, it's a feeling.
Yeah.
If it's I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm whatever, emotion, basically.
Because you'll have a reason behind it, and there'll be a logic behind it, and a reason, and there'll be a story because of a situation that's happened, and it'll be a long, lengthy fucking process.
Yeah, but you don't even need to worry about all that. I think it's just about realizing. Well, I don't even know how we got into this topic, actually.
Lynn asked the question.
Thoughts and emotions. Yeah, I know, but why did you ask the question?
We were talking about it before, like, how do we describe feelings? Like, we're both trying to explain that. But we were talking more about feelings.
Yeah, exactly. That topic.
I don't know. It's a question. We're answering the questions to the best of our ability.
Yeah, I think, like you said, to me, it should be taught to everybody that their priority in life is to make themselves feel as good as possible. And I don't mean in a superficial, fake way. I don't mean to pretend I'm happy when I'm sad. I don't mean none of that bullshit. That makes me so mad when people do that, right? That's not the way to be. Don't suppress your shit. Acknowledge your shit. Feel your shit. That's the part of being human. Like, a lot of people start going, I'm going to go on a little bit of a rant here, but a lot of people go on like a bit of a spiritual journey, or law of attraction, or fucking anything like that, or positive psychology and all this stuff, and they completely misunderstand it. Yes, going forward, you want to maximize the amount of time you stay in a higher vibrational state, but doesn't mean you're not going to have bad days. Doesn't mean you're not going to get emotional. Doesn't mean you're not going to get angry or frustrated. The point of that is so that when those times do come up, you don't get consumed by them. They don't become extra baggage you have to hold on to. You feel them, you process them, you take the lesson or what you need to, and you move forward. You don't allow those things to dictate your life for the next 6 months or 2 hours or 5 hours or 10 days. Like, that's the point of it to me, is that to be in a high state of being as much as you can. Not all the time, just as much as you can, by allowing yourself to just be. Because as soon as we tell ourselves we should be something else, we're causing tension. Whenever there's tension, there's energy buildup. Whenever there's energy buildup, it gets so far and so far and so far, and then it fucking explodes. That's just the nature of energy. And we fundamentally are energy. Like, if you put a microscope onto our body, and say, for example, you do it onto your skin, it'll get as deep as the cells, then it'll get as deep as the atoms. And then when they do microscopic investigation into atoms, I saw today, like 99, this is going to blow your mind, in an atom, 99.99999999999% of that atom is nothingness. It's just energy. So that then means 99.9999999 whatever of our body is just energy. So we are energy. So if you constantly or make the effort to live in a higher vibrational being, you are literally changing your physiology, which means when you get to those high states of being, those lower vibrational states, such as intense fear, anxiety, depression, physically cannot live there. They just cannot. They're on two different vibrational states. It's like tuning into 99.1 and expecting to get the station on 100.3. You can't. They're two different states. You can't tune into both of them at the same time. Okay, my rant's over.
I love it. Beautiful. I would like to add, I like how you said allow, because I think in the reconnection with self, we also get very confused about how do we connect with ourselves? What are we supposed to do? What is right? What is wrong? I don't know what I feel. I don't know what I think. When you're completely lost, you actually don't have any thoughts or feelings because they're all so corrupted that you don't know what the fuck's going on. So yes, I guess there is a point where you can be that consumed by what's going on, that how do you get yourself back out of it? Where do you begin? To me, I think that allowance is however you feel is okay. Like there's no rules. Like your journey is going to be your journey. No one can get you out of it except for yourself. And that's okay. And it could take you 10 days. It could take you 10 years. It does not matter where you're at in your situation. But if you allow yourself to feel or to just whatever's going on, if you allow that, you are letting go of all of the forced energy and all the should haves and the have tos and all the other corruptive thoughts and beliefs that will be adding on top of any of the, I guess, already, I guess, incongruent, what you were saying before, when we're out of alignment, when we're not connected with self, you know, we're not adding any more to it. If you can just say, I feel like fucking shit right now, and that's okay. I feel like this, I feel like this, I feel like this. This is why. Let your truth be known to you. And you can say it to yourself. You can say it out loud. Find someone that can support you to say it out loud. It doesn't matter. But if you can allow yourself, I feel like that is a really pivotal part. And that took me so long to get to because I was still trying to do what I thought I had to do to get myself out of it. But the trying was a whole fuck another layer of stress added on top of it. I was trying to get myself to feel happier, but I just didn't feel happy. The minute I allowed myself to go, oh yeah, I actually do feel quite emotional today. And then I'd let myself cry. Well, fuck, after 5 minutes, I was like a brand new person because I allowed myself to feel how I felt. Like trying to stop yourself feeling the way you do or trying to change who you are or how you are, your situation is only corrupting and adding more force to the situation. I think it's why we called our first, was it the first one or the second one, delayering, like the delayering process, because as if we are, here's your analogy, carrying a sack of bricks. Are they or potatoes? No, bricks. I reckon they'd be bricks. Because we have all these layers on top of us right now. None of us are walking around this world very aligned or very pure. We all have some stuff, right? That's why we're talking about what we're talking about. So we have all of these layers, say, of energy and their thoughts, their emotions, their beliefs, their everything going on. Doesn't matter what they are. But we have every single second to allow ourselves to feel how we feel or just acknowledge what's going on for us. We acknowledge our truth. We're in the present moment. We get to diminish so many layers in that moment. That is like a healing technique on its own. But just that allowance, and it's okay. It's okay if you want to stay in bed all day. It's okay. The minute you tell yourself it's not, you're only adding extra layers of stress. And yes, that's a very hard process to get through to. But if you can just give yourself permission to feel the way you do, and that's okay, and it doesn't matter, you let it go instantly. So you don't hang on to it for as long as however you're going to hang on to it for.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, though, the reason a lot of people don't allow themselves to feel that, we've mentioned this before, is one, they don't know how to deal with it. But two, I think the biggest part of, there's actually nothing to deal with. You're just releasing.
Yeah.
It's all the thoughts about it, but that's the part that we need to let go of. So, for example, like I said last time, for a long time I had all this anger towards my ex. And then I thought that things shouldn't be like that. You should be happy and unicorns with your ex. So I was suppressing something within myself. I was telling myself that how reality is, which is how I'm actually feeling, is not how it should be. I should be feeling something else. And because I'm telling myself I should be feeling something else, I'm not allowing this energy, which is all it is to just come through me and out. That's literally all you're doing. You don't have to sit there and delve into when I was 14, this happened on this day and blah, 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 blah. Fuck it. Don't worry about the story. Doesn't matter. In fact, the story is what is making it work. That's the problem. The story is the problem. So I think at the start, just sort of the process that I went through to allow myself to get to a point where I would allow myself to release it, a big part of that was realizing the story I was telling myself about emotions. My belief was that pain, anger, hate, all these emotions are bad. Everybody thinks that. Everyone, especially, this is why I get so mad about people who hate on the ego, which all these emotions are linked to the ego, right? And there's all this negative connotation that the ego is bad. So then whenever the ego comes out, what do? We hate on ourselves. Fuck you, people who tell people that ego is bad. No, ego is just a part of you. It's a tool that we have to empower ourselves. That's all it is. And emotions are the same. They're just an indicator of what's actually going on inside. So, for example, if you feel depressed about something from the past, that's basically telling you that what happened and what your story about what should have been is different. When you look at it that simply, it changes the game. It changes the game. You know, so you're not getting caught up in the story. You're realizing, okay, I had these emotions. I didn't allow myself to express them because of the thoughts I had about them. So all I need to do is change my thoughts. And what can I do to change my thoughts to, like, what thought can I create so that I can allow myself to feel these emotions? And that's just that. Emotions are just energy and they just need to be released. Emotions aren't the problem. They're actually a great sign to tell me what's actually going on. Give them power. Tell yourself a story that makes you feel empowered to feel those emotions, not scared of them, not wanting to avoid them, not fearful of them. And then as you explore that more, then you'll allow yourself to get to a place where, okay, I'm actually going to allow myself to do this. It's kind of like, you know, whereas for me, it got to a point where I just knew that they had to go. To me, it was a non-negotiable. So I was like, body, brain, what the fuck's going on? We're dealing with this. There's no out of it. You can try and fucking run off a cliff if you want. It's not going to happen. This is what we're doing. So for me, but it took me like what? Fucking 10 months to get there or something. Not 10 months, maybe 8 months or so. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to take other people 8 months. It might take you 8 hours, 8 days. The point of doing these videos is to give people the other side of it so that we can give them the shortcuts so that it doesn't have to take them 8 months. You know, so it's just about changing your story about how do I feel about emotions. And the quickest way to realize how you feel about emotions is to write the word emotions down, and underneath it, especially write bad ones like hate, anger, sadness, crying, judgments, and then literally write down all the words that first come to your head automatically, not your conscious mind. Automatically, when you think of judgment, what do you think? Bad? Okay, write bad. When you think of crying, what do you think? Weak? All right, write weak. Blah, 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 blah. Then you'll get an idea in front of you of, fuck, no wonder why I don't want to let myself cry. I associate that with weakness, with pain, with suffering, with all these negative things. What does my brain do? It's designed to make me avoid pain and suffering. So I've told my brain that crying is weak, painful, and suffering, so my brain's going to be like, nope, we're not going to do that, right? So then by having that image in front of you, you can change the words. You can now start linking crying to freedom, to release, to pleasure, to letting go, to authenticity, to all these amazing things. It's honestly, that exercise I started to do November last year, and I got it from my current boss. I did a workshop of hers, and she did that. So, for example, if you want to see how you really feel about health, write the word health down, and then straight away think about everything that automatically comes to your head. Hate exercising, hate dieting, hate this, hate that. No wonder why you don't want to be healthy. You've told your brain that being healthy is bad. What do you need to do? Just make a new fucking list. It's that simple. True?
True.
I love that you're grinning so much.
So true.
So, Lynn, I would encourage you even to do that. I would encourage you to do that with the word depression. What have you linked to depression? Sad feelings, blah, 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 which is why you're scared of even getting into depression because you think it's bad. You've linked it with all these bad things. But the funny part is, as soon as you start linking it to good things, you'll actually realize it probably won't even happen because you've started to link it with pleasurable things, if that makes sense. Or if it does happen, it's going to be nowhere near as intense as it was before because all of those negative feelings about it aren't there. You're like, okay, I just need to do this. All right, cool. So like, for example, now, same as you, if I'm having a bad day and I need to cry, I'll stop everything that I'm doing. I'll come into my room and I'll just allow myself to cry. 5 minutes, half an hour, whatever the fuck. It never goes for an hour anymore. Literally 5, 15 minutes. Have my cry, let it out, checked in, cool. I'm going on with my day now. It's literally, that's it. That's all you need to do. But to get to that point, I had to do those exercises where I wrote down, okay, releasing my emotions, what are the positives of that? I had to change that. And then once you change that, bang, you'll allow yourself to sit there for fucking 5 days if you need to. And just let it all out.
And I want to quick add, before we read that, that there's no rules. Again, that's been something that we all tend to play by the rules, and whatever the rules are for you, your family, whatever in your head or whatever you grew up with, there's no rules. So there's no good, there's no bad, there's actually no nothing. The reality is whatever you want to make it up to be. So we choose how we feel, how we think, what we think about, what we do. We actually choose in every moment. We are, again, like you also mentioned, purely from our subconscious, until we are reconnecting with ourselves and understanding our autopilot can be a little bit more healthier than it is these days. But there are no rules. So who cares what you do? Test that out. Play with that. Like, even keep saying to yourself, write it down. There's no rules. Put your reminders in your phone. I do that so much. Like, that's my little mindset tweak, or it's me catching myself, whether I fall back into something that's like on autopilot that's not necessarily healthy or doesn't feel good. I set reminders in my phone that just is that constant reminder that'll pop up, and I'll just have, say, for every day for a week until I feel like it's done its job. There are no rules. And when I read that, I think, oh, so why do I think this is wrong, this is bad, I can't do this, I have to do this? What the fuck is all of this shit anyway? It's all bullshit. I can throw it all out the window and go, oh, well, I feel like going to the beach. I'm going to go to the beach. Oh, look, I'm happy as Larry and I've just met someone cool. So no rules, everyone.
Exactly. Well, I think part of that too is also not just that there's no rules, but there's no storyline to life. For example, as a 29-year-old woman in an Italian family, I should be married with kids by now.
Yeah.
Or as a 29-year-old person, I should be in a fucking specific job. I should be a something, you know, or as a, I don't know, 60-year-old woman who's divorced, oh, I'm 60, I should be in a loving relationship with 1,000 fucking grandkids. There's no storyline. Everybody's life is different. And that is what makes life amazing. That is what makes your life amazing. That's what makes your story so perfect and so magical, because it's so different to everybody else's. And the thing is, it's so conflicting because naturally we want to fit in. You know, those sort of animal, instinctual sort of things and survival parts is that we need to be part of a tribe for survival. We're past that now. We're getting to a point of consciousness where, like, it's not about survival anymore in terms of consciousness. I am safe. You know, like, most of us live in a pretty safe society. It's not about that anymore. So it's about realizing that conflict as well. This gets me so excited.
Do you want to answer Lynn's question, or you got another wavelength?
Good information, but what is a good thing to link depression to? Can't think of anything. Brain thinking shuts off when I ask what's good with depression.
Yeah, so that's a block.
Let me tell you something, Lynn. If your brain is shut off, that already shows you the extreme amount of negative association you have with depression. We will always shut off when something is so traumatic to us and we just have nothing good about it. Nothing good at all. So the thing is as well is the intensity of the emotions of a depressive time are intense. So the things that I'm about to tell you are not going to have the same sort of intensity, which means, energetically speaking, one can only override the other through repetition, because the power of what I'm about to tell you is not as intense as the experience of being depressed. And so what I mean by that is the benefits of feeling depression. Well, the thing is, what the fuck is depression?
Yeah,
it's
define
sadness.
Define it for you.
Yeah.
I guess that's
first of all, maybe just get rid of the word depression. Get it out of your vocabulary. If this is how significant of an experience it is for you that you shut off, don't use the word depression.
Or what is
Just use
depression? Yeah,
an
what is that? What's the
yeah,
situation? What's the
it's a,
feeling? Like define what
yeah,
depression is for you, because everyone has a different interpretation of what the word means. And when you can get
exactly.
specific on that story, then we're starting to like nut down.
Yes, absolutely. But so for me, this is easy for me to say now that I'm on the other side. But if I hadn't gone through that depression that I went through last year, there is no fucking way I would be where I am now. For the simple fact that I had to get that low for me to wake the fuck up. And I'm not saying that that means people should make themselves depressed. Don't deliberately do that to yourself, obviously. But there's so much that can come out of those periods of time if you allow them to. So again, uh, the things that let's assume that you've defined depression and you're somewhat okay with it. Some positives that can come out of it is, one, you're getting to learn more about you. Which again, as soon as I say that, that's not going to have the energetic intensity as the sadness, as the pain and the suffering. So it's not going to feel good enough. Your logical mind is going to be like, that's not good enough. So the only way that's going to become good enough for you, Lynn, is through repetition. You need to repeatedly do this exercise for your thoughts to shift significantly enough to be open to it. If that makes sense.
Do you think, while we're on that, can I keep going with that? So
yeah,
in terms of, because we like DeMartini, you can find a benefit to everything. So when you're actually nutting into the actual story and the situation for this, so what does depression mean for Lynn? What is the feeling behind it? What's the story? What's the situation? You know, just if we got a little bit more detail, we could then say, okay, so say the job makes her very upset, or there's somebody that is at her work that makes her feel like shit, and she'll come home, and then and the ring of events that comes from that moment is what's allowing her or making her depressed. So if we were talking about that situation, we could then obviously pinpoint what's going on, but what benefit? So to me, I think, and we're on the same wavelength of what we believe in terms of we can all find a benefit to every situation. A lot of the time it's hard to get to that point because our mind will say, well, of course there's not a benefit. You know, when you have loved ones die, what's the benefit to that? You know, there's some traumatic events in your life where you're like, fuck off, as if there's a benefit. There actually is always a benefit. You can always find a benefit, and that's what actually balances everything out. That's what eliminates the depression or the whatever the story is, because you're finding what is completely bad, completely negative, completely one-sided. Nothing is completely one-sided. We live in a world that is always in balance. If it's an extreme balance, it's still a balance. So if you can find that benefit, you are then tipping those scales back into balance. I don't think you necessarily need repetition for that. I just think you need to probably dive a bit deeper and be quite truthful with yourself and not feel bad about having a benefit to something to get to that point. I feel like that diminishes shit like that.
Yeah, well, I think because we just approached the situation a little bit differently. So for me, it was about her allowing her mind to get okay with the word depression.
Okay.
Because as soon as she said depression, she said her brain shuts off.
Yeah.
So that's the one aspect to it. But then the other aspect to it is what you're talking about is, okay, what actually happened to you that what event happened that was so traumatic that you've associated the word depressed with? What's that about? And that's what you're talking about. Right. And that definitely can happen. And again, like if you're, I don't know how sciencey you are, Lynn, but if you need some scientific evidence, you can Google it. There's so much evidence to show that two people can be shown the same scenario, literally look at the same thing, and pull out two different bits of information from it. Does it mean they're wrong? No, it's just a matter of what they're focusing on. So, for example, you could see footage on the news of a massive car accident, right? And in that car accident, you've seen two trucks collide, for example. It's devastating. They've died. It's horrible, right? Cars everywhere, police, ambulance, whatever. You can look at that and think, fuck, how horrific 2 lives have died, and just focus on that. Or you can look at it, and I'm not taking away the value of those 2 lives. That's not what I'm doing. Or you can look at it and say, okay, fuck, 2 lives have been taken, but look at how beautiful humans are. Look at how many people have come to help these people. Look at how quickly the police and the ambulance have responded. Look at how many people have pulled over to see if they can contribute and help. And the thing is, that doesn't seem as significant, but it's about understanding that the only reason you feel depressed about something is literally the story you're telling yourself. If you change the story, you will not feel depressed. It's literally that simple. Literally that simple. So,
and that's when
yeah, I think you make a really
coaches are helpful. Hey, that's when even a support network, again, we come in a world where we don't want to lean on people, we don't want to be a burden, so we don't want to reach out to loved ones or family members or anything. So that's why coaches are really a prominent role, and everyone is some type of coach these days anyway. So that's when healers and coaches and anything that you feel drawn to is so helpful. And whether it's one session or every week, whatever you feel you want or need, because you're valuing them to be able to be that mirror, that facilitator, that support, and they just get to pull out that story for you. They get to ask you the questions for you to be truthful and you to actually answer, and they're just showing you that sort of love and support that we might feel we don't have, or we might feel we don't allow into our lives, or we don't want to let the close ones or the loved ones into our truth or into our head space. So that's when I think therapists, healers, practitioners, everybody can play a huge role in helping us really dissect things like depression, anxiety, situations, stories, anything that's going on for you that you're struggling with. Anyone can help with anything. Like, you just see who you're drawn to, see, like you said, see who comes into your space, allow them in, and then just allow yourself to open up, because in one session, like, you can do some magical work. And what you are consumed by, you may not even understand why you were stressed about in the first place in one session. I've seen it way too many times. It blows people's minds, but we just never actually think that so much change can happen so quickly or ever want to reach out for help. What we're learning.
Yeah, but it's just because of the story. So we get so, you have to think of it, as soon as you attach a story, if you're not careful, this is basically what you're doing.
Yeah.
You've shut off any possibility of any other truth. And that's what tends to happen with depression, with anxiety, with anything we get consumed by. We're consumed by it because of this. We're not allowing anything else in. And so all it's about, whether with a coach, whether a healer, whatever, friend, whoever, is about taking this off. So how can we look at the situation from a different perspective? And that's where, like you said, it can happen like that, because literally it just might take one bit of information that you've missed that's so powerful for you that you're like, fuck, I can't believe I missed that. Bang, instant transformation. Instant. It doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen. So I'm not sure whether you would feel comfortable with this, Lynn, and by no means there is no pressure, but do you have potentially an example? It doesn't have to be the one that's related to the depression,